Welcome, everyone, and good morning. How are you today? This is Michael Gibbs, and I'm the founder and CEO of Go Cloud Careers, and I'm here today to help you build your best cloud computing career. Perhaps you desire to become a cloud architect, or you're looking for your first cloud architect job, or your first cloud engineer job, or your first solution architect job, or your first enterprise architect job. Well, that's why I'm here to help you get to your goals in the best, fastest, and cheapest manner possible. See, I've been working in technology for about 25 years. And 25 years ago, I transitioned from healthcare into tech, and I know exactly what it takes to transition careers. And not only have I been in tech for 25 years and a lead architect and an enterprise architect at some of the biggest, most capable technology companies in the world, but I've spent 2 decades helping people build their best tech career, get their first tech job, get tech promoted, and I love it. So the biggest highlight of my team's life is each day when someone says, guess what, Mike, I got cloud hired. And my entire team celebrates it. And that's why I'm here, completely free to help you build your best cloud computing career. Please, in the chat box, tell us where you're from. Please give us a hashtag cloud hired. And please tell us exactly the career of your dreams so we know how to get you hired in the chat box. And the reason I'm here is to answer your questions. See, I know most people zigzag throughout their career, and they take decades to get to where you could get to in a year or two with the right laser focused training by learning the things that are critical to your job versus someone else's job. And I'm going to make sure that you get cloud hired. It's my life's work getting people hired, and that's why I'm here. So if you've got some questions, please pop them in the chat box. Before the questions come in, let's talk about some free things we do at Go Cloud Careers and Go Cloud Architects to make sure you get cloud hired. Next Thursday, we have a completely free How to Get Your First Cloud Architect Job webinar, and it'll be on Zoom. And I'll present for an hour, and you guys can ask questions for an hour. We'll have a live discussion on Zoom. I love doing it. Please sign up for the How to Get Your First Cloud Job webinar, and look forward to seeing you there. Now, in October, we're going to have an AWS Certified Solution Architect Associate Bootcamp completely free. And it's not going to be one of those boring certification courses that you've taken in the past, where you've got somebody with PowerPoint slides that doesn't understand the content and all you hear is blah, 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 blah with some screen recorded slides. No, we're going to run it like a real classroom, like when I trained systems engineers at Cisco, or when I was training systems engineers at Riverstone Networks, where I'm going to present for 20 minutes and you're going to ask questions for 10 minutes. And that way we know you're getting a quality education and you're learning. And we'll actually cover what is the technology instead of just, here's the name of a silly service, which in many cases you can't use, and how to configure it. So it's going to be a great event. Thousands of people usually come from all around the world, and it's completely free. And of course, in November, we're going to run an AWS Advanced Networking Plus course. Why do I call it Plus? Lots of people like that AWS Advanced Networking certification, which I can understand, but it doesn't have enough substance to it. It's not enough. It's kind of like an intro to junior level cloud computing networking. So what are we going to do? We're going to give you what you really need to know. And it won't just be the certification stuff, which we'll cover well, because it's no big deal to pass that exam, and we'll make sure you can easily pass that exam. But we'll get involved in some switching. We'll probably talk about some interior gateway protocols. We'll definitely get big into BGP. We'll talk about IP addressing, subnetting, and supernetting. And we'll give you a lot of the networking that's missing in that component. So guess what? You can get cloud hired. I'm not here to do anything other than get you hired. I'm the singular focus. Some people, I charge you thousands of dollars to get a certification. In the end, you got a piece of paper that you can't do anything with other than heat your house with it if it's cold outside. We can get you the certifications free, but we'll also teach you knowledge that you actually need. Our goals in life, and that's why we have our career development programs, are to get you hired, not just certified. We have a different focus, and our students are constantly getting hired. One may even pop into my house today. One of my cloud security architects is visiting me in Florida. He likes to come visit me periodically. He's going to help demo something in my cloud architect career development class with me today. So, you may even see him. You may pop in. If you have got questions of what it's like being a cloud architect, you can ask him too. And while we're at it, follow me on LinkedIn. And here's why. Part of being an architect is having business acumen and leadership skills and things like that, executive presence. And I'm going to have 2 business school professors coming in very soon. And they're going to talk to you about some of these critical skills. But that's not enough. I'm going to bring in Romanik Ivan Tambo, one of my favorite students, one of my first favorite students. He came in, no background in tech, working as AWS solution architect, and now it's 6 months into his job, and he's going to tell you all about his job. And that's not enough. I'm going to bring in my friend Alvin DaCosta, who's a vice president over NVIDIA. He's going to talk to you what hiring managers really care about to hire you. So you're going to know how to get hired. He's going to talk about how to progress in your career, the mistakes that I don't want you to make that most people make, so you can become highly, highly successful and have an extremely good cloud computing career. And all that's going to be free, so follow me on LinkedIn. Now, if you want to get your first cloud architect job, your first solution architect job, your first cloud engineering job, my team is running a 30% off discount on all of our programs, which means our average student will graduate and be able to pay for the course in a single day's pay once they reach graduation. I don't need to work. I came out of retirement to build this, to help the world get cloud hired. I saw what existed out there. I knew it wasn't enough. And I know I've been an architect for decades. And I want you all hired, all promoted, and living the best lives of your dream. So come in and ask your questions. Ask any question you need, and we'll do everything we can to help you build your best cloud computing career. Bear with me while I grab a little bit of water. I babble a lot. So ask us some questions. Eddie Patrick. Hi, everyone. Eddie's in Bamenda, Cameroon right now. He's a wonderful member of our team. Eddie, we're grateful to have you. And hello, everyone. John Daniel, good morning, family. Cloud hired. Yes, that's the whole reason, John. Let's get everybody hired. Can't see the name. It's wonderful to see you. Hello, everyone. Daniel Mitra, cloud hired. Fantastic. Let us know where you're from and let us know all of your questions so we can help you get cloud hired. Lady Godiva, it's nice to see you again. Saw your beautiful photos yesterday in your background. I am always honored when you're here. Great to see you. Good morning and hello, everyone. Hello, Mike and everyone from Toronto. Yeah, I haven't been in Toronto in a little while. Wow, the last time I was in Toronto and Mississauga, I think I was talking to TELUS, the phone company over there, to do some IP multicast designs up there with some other people. Wonderful, wonderful organization. And I love going to Toronto. A little cold for me. That's why I'm in Florida, but a beautiful place, especially in the summertime. Do you think increases or decreases related to hiring, asking for cloud architect roles? So here's what I think. I do believe that we're going to see a slowdown in hiring as a rule, but I also think we're going to see selective hiring, but I also see we're going to see a reorganization. And what I mean by this is, look, the US is in a recession by having 2 quarters of negative GDP growth. The Fed is aggressively raising interest rates, which will suck out free money supply from the economy, which will increase borrowing costs for people, which would mean what's going to happen is home prices will be more affordable, which means I think there'll be a bunch of foreclosures in the future and a bunch of people walking into their house, which will cause a rapid, at least in home price, de-inflation, which is actually really scary. But at the same time, we also see skyrocketing inflation. So right now, Daniel, what we need is more architects. Why more architects? Well, the whole plan of the architect, Daniel, is to transform a business. How do we make the business more efficient with technology? If employee wages are too high, the architect's role is to find automation technology to replace people, for example. If businesses can't find or hire the right people, the architect's job is to use communications and collaborations technology and find a strategy to hire people in a different part of the world, people that are motivated to work, that live in a lower cost of living environment. So we architects are going to do that. So we're going to need more architects. But what I think you're going to see is as follows. I've been working with architects for a long period of time. There's basically 2 kinds of architects. There's architects that focus on architecture and digital transformation. Generally speaking, in these times, they got hired and even promoted and paid more. And then there are architects that think they're engineers that try to focus on the tech. Well, there's no digital transformation that comes from them. And those people get laid off during a recession. Why? Because they're expensive. Think of your 2 architects, Daniel. An architect that goes and designs, presents, and sells a $400 million solution. They're needed at all times. By comparison, you've got some that want to focus on just a piece of tech, like a firewall. Now, they're not doing any digital transformation. And they're the ones that get laid off. So what I think you'll see is as follows: a layoff of the low performing people. There's a lot of people doing some quiet quitting right now. We're in a recession. They're all gone because companies can't afford to have people that are not really there to really work so hard. What'll happen is an influx of highly motivated people and people focused on business transformation, digital transformation, and sales. So I do think we'll see a little bit of slower hiring, but I've been hired during a recession for architect roles. I know other people that have been hired during a recession. And Daniel Mitra, of the people I've coached in the last 20 years, only one of my students ever was part of a layoff. This person got a six-figure severance and had a $300,000 job within 3 days of his getting laid off. So I don't really worry so much about the recession and not getting hired. It will slow hiring cycles, and it will mean you need to be better. And what is better, Daniel? Well, first, you have to have the competency of the networking and the data center technologies, because otherwise you can't move it to the cloud. But what's better? Who are the really transformational architects? It's the ones with the best business acumen, so they can perform digital transformation. You can't transform a business if you don't know business. It's the ones with the best leadership skills. It's the ones that can bring out the best in others. It's the one with the most sales skills, the most executive presence and CXO relevancy. The people that you can put in front of an audience of 5,000 people, and that's why I train so much of this to my students. So then you can stick them in front of a conference and they can generate demand in their marketing people. So that's what's really there. So yes, I do think hiring will slow. I think there'll be a shift towards architects versus engineers. In the recession, I think your software engineering is going to be outsourced to places where they do very good software engineering: Eastern Europe, India, Pakistan, Africa. And I think that the architecture work is going to grow. Hiring will be slower, but the architect roles will be there. But they're going to be hiring better people that are more skilled. So you can't be in a recession less skilled. You've got to be the best. One of those kind of things is really, really what matters. So I'm still optimistic about the future. I tell my students they have to be better right now, Daniel. I tell them that it's going to take longer because you got to be the best. And I'd rather somebody stay in my program an extra couple months and be so good that they blow the competition out of the water. And that's why we give our students a lot of flexibility in our program to stay with us for a year, because I want my students to be the best. That's why my students, regardless of experience or no experience, get hired. And they're getting hired all the time. And Daniel, I know you've seen that. So be optimistic about the future. Focus on you, not the surroundings. Become better than the rest. Build your best attitude, your best communication skills and leadership skills. You'll be hired. I know you, Daniel. You're a very great person, very great guy, and a very good architect as well. Chris or Chal, we can go to the next one. And please ask us your questions in the chat box. Thanks, Mike. You are so more than welcome, and I'm so happy you're here. Appreciate it from South Dakota. Oh, I haven't been to South Dakota in a long time, and in the summertime, it's really beautiful. Yeah, the Dakotas economically are doing so great compared to others, and it's wonderful to see all that economic development, and it's really terrific. Love it the last few times I was there, just only in the summertime. Hey, Mike, you've gotten your AWS Associate Cert. I see others talking about only getting entry-level architects with this certification. So realistically, what we're talking about is as follows. The certification is a certification about name of a service and how to configure that service. But guess what? Architects don't use those name of services and they don't configure that services. So I know people, rock and roller, with 0 certifications that have gotten hired. In fact, somebody's going to be in my house today. He's had now 3 job offers that he rejected, and he took one of his favorite cloud security architect jobs. And he had 0 certifications, but what he had is competency. Now, rock and roller, I've interviewed 1,000 AWS certified people. I'd say 20% of them were certified at the AWS Certified Solution Architect professional level. And if all they had was certifications, none of them were hireable. In fact, after interviewing 1,000 AWS certified people and not finding a single one, 0, that were hireable, that's why I created my program. And rock and roll, and now almost every day, one of my students is getting cloud hired, and I love that. So the key is, yes, we've gotten a a certification. And that's really, really great. But now there's learning to begin. And here's why. An architect is basically a systems designer. I like to view architects, because I've been an architect for about 25 years, and the first architects were modeled after building architects. So what's a building architect do? They design a big and beautiful building. So let's say you were going to design some condos in Palm Beach, Florida, and you wanted the building to be 50 stories tall. It's in Palm Beach. You want it to be big and luxurious. You want to have one of those pools, those infinity pools that you see towards the ocean. You want to put a couple of 5-star restaurants in the pool. You want to have some beautiful covered parking. And you want to basically make this posh, posh, posh. Who do you hire? You hire an architect. The architect designs the building, right? Now, the architect doesn't build the building. You don't give them a screwdriver, a hammer, or a nail gun. That's not their job. They're not working with cement. They know how to design. Now, what if I just trained somebody and here's a screwdriver, here's a drill, here's one of those saw things I remember trying in woodshop. I failed terribly at woodshop, but, I always loved people that could work with their hands. So, let's say, for example, I trained you on how to do construction, like lay cement or cut grass or something like that, things that are related to the groundskeeping. That would not train you or prepare you to design that big, beautiful hotel or a condo place, because it's a different skill. Now, the problem is that AWS Certified Solution Architect, Associate, and Professional teach you construction. They're effectively teaching you how to use the drill, zip, zip, and how to use those nail guns or hammers, and they don't teach you system design. And that's why no one wants someone that's based on certification. They want someone based upon knowledge. So let's talk about it. A building architect needs to know design in terms of aesthetics. They need to know building and construction materials to figure out if you're going to make a building 500 meters tall, how do you deal with the wind? What happens if there's a hurricane? What kind of materials are strong enough for that hurricane? These are the kind of things that an architect considers. Now, a cloud architect that's designing a cloud solution does not need to know construction at all, because we never touch the technology. We design the technology, present the technology, and we sell that technology. We don't touch the technology. So all this hands-on nonsense that's part of the AWS certification is great for a cloud admin, not even a cloud engineer, because they still need other skills, but completely worthless for the architect, except that having a certification will get us an interview. So now, what are those skills that you need to learn? Let's talk about those things. What you need to learn is as follows. 1, networking. Why? Because the cloud is nothing more than renting space in somebody else's network in a data center. And what are you really designing solutions as a cloud architect? Network and data center solutions. So instead of any more certification time, don't worry about that. You got enough of a certification. Now let's build your competency. Now you could take our Cloud Architect Career Development Program, and 500 hours later or so you'll be hired. And we retrain people that are AWS certified constantly. We make them forget all that stuff in that certification, and then we turn them into competent architects. Or you can learn these things. Now, these are the things you need to learn, and it's going to be between 25 and 50,000 pages worth of materials to read unless you take our course. And I'm going to give you the skills to get hired, whether you do it on your own or you do it with us. The first thing that you need to know is as following. And we assume you have no knowledge after passing a certification, like we assume everybody that comes to us has no knowledge. So if the only thing you have is in a certification, we're going to have to start you out at scratch. We're going to have to teach you BGP, because BGP is the routing protocol that's going to be used to connect to the internet. It's going to be used for peering with other organizations. It's going to be used to exchange routing information with all your cloud providers. And yes, you're going to be using multiple cloud providers, and that's not covered in a certification either. Ideally, you're going to also know IBGP instead of just external BGP. And IBGP requires knowledge of interior gateway protocols such as OSPF, because you need that for the IBGP peering sessions. So kind of keep that in the back of your mind. Now, next on the list, you're going to need to know IP addressing, subnetting, supernetting, route summarization, route aggregation. Can't do the job without that, so we're going to have to teach you that, or you're going to have to learn it on your own. Now, next, you're going to have to learn wide area networking technologies, because you're going to be using to connect cloud to cloud, data centers to cloud, offices to cloud, remote access locations to the cloud. So in order to do that, what you need to understand is SSL-based VPNs, IPsec tunnels, private lines, Ethernet over MPLS, software-defined networking, and SASE. Now, next, you're going to need to know switching and switching concepts, which are what? VLANs, VLAN tagging, VLAN trunking, port channel, ether channel, link aggregation group, spanning tree, rapid spanning tree, etc. Now, there's a lot of NAT you're going to need to work with. One-to-one NAT, one-to-many NAT, static NAT, dynamic NAT, and port address translation. DNS, DHCP, ARP, and proxy ARP. Now, rock and roll, the next things you're going to do, and this is only the tech, which is only a third of the job. The next things that you need to learn are as follows. Virtual machines and server virtualization, containers and container orchestration, storage area networks such as block storage, file storage, object storage, file sharing protocols and what to use and when, how to tune the bad performance of block storage in the cloud because it's slow compared to data center fast storage. So that's going to be a constraint we're going to be dealing with. We're going to be dealing with load balancers, network load balancers, application load balancers, stacking load balancers, reverse proxies. We're going to be dealing with industrial grade relational and NoSQL databases, and you must know how to scale them. And we can't use, in most cases, a DynamoDB or an Amazon Aurora. Why? They're great databases, so why can't we use them? Almost everything is multi-cloud. Almost everything is multi-cloud, and we can't use proprietary things multi-cloud. And then you're going to need to know security appliances, such as next-generation firewalls, IDS IPS systems, VPN concentrators, because we can't use those cloud-native services. All those things are kind of great. Now, what do you need to know next? Remember, the job of the architect is digital transformation, so it's not a tech job. It's an executive job where you use tech as your tool, as your vehicle. Hey, Delroy, come upstairs. Oh, got a surprise when my cloud hired people came to visit me in Florida. So while we're at it, now let's talk about the business skills. And the business skills are as follows. Sales skills, because we design, present, and sell. Executive presence, because we get in front of large audiences. And they're executives. And if we just say BGP is a path vector routing protocol used for network layer reachability, it uses TCP port 179, we'll be escorted out of the room and our replacements will thank us. But if by comparison, we could say BGP as a path vector routing protocol that's used for intradomain routing, it exchanges network layer reachability information, and it uses TCP port 179, now the executives will take me seriously. So what else do I need to know? I need to be able to build teams of 40 to 60 engineers at a time to design and deploy an architecture. So I need some kind of leadership skills. Now I need to present to CEOs, CFOs, and CTOs. So what do I need? I need something called CXO relevancy. Now I need soft skills like you can imagine, emotional intelligence, empathy, and enthusiasm. So rock and roll. That's exactly what it takes. You learn these things, you're going to be great. Hey, we have a surprise visitor, Delroy Batt. You want to come over here for a minute? So I have Delroy Batt. He was one of my first students. He recently got hired. You can just squat down a little bit so people can see you. He recently got hired as a cloud architect, and he came to us. He was an EMT. Now he's a cloud security architect. We love Delroy. He's here. He came to do some special things with me this weekend. And if you've got any questions about the day in the life of an architect and you want to hear from somebody else, he's been working as an architect. He knows a ton of architects. And like anybody else, he's doing the architect job. And hey, Delroy, while we're at it, you code, configure, or touch the technology?
No, I do not code, configure at all.
How many meetings do you go to?
A lot on a day-to-day basis.
How many expensive dinners and drinks are you going to as part of your job?
A lot.
How much sales is part of your job?
Everything is sales.
Of any of the architects that work in your company, in which case there are hundreds, do any of them touch the technology?
No.
What do they do? Design, present, and sell?
Design, present, and sell.
That's it. That's the job. So if you got questions for Delroy, he's sitting in my office working on some leadership things for him. I'm getting to coach him. He's one of my private coaching clients, and we love Delroy. And he's super successful at 20-some years old. So if you want to hear from Delroy, we can bring Delroy on too. I love when my students come visit me in Florida. I love when they get hired. It's super, 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 super. So bring in your questions, Delroy. Obviously, have a seat, get comfortable. I know you've got some things to do. But Delroy was here, and I was excited to see him. And yes, Eddie Patrick, welcome Delroy. He and I had a chance to get some dinner last night. I pretended I was James Bond and I ordered a vodka martini, shaken but not stirred. I know not to order two of them. One was more than enough for me. Collins, nice to see you, Delroy Bat. Collins, I actually call 007 if you'd need him. He's cool, calm, and collected. He really is just like James Bond. Yes. I love to see that, Cameron. I love to see it too. You know, some people, there were the people that I wish were my own son. You know, whether it's Delroy, who I felt that way about, Daniel Bosu, who I felt that way about, and wait till you see it from Ivan Tamba. These are three people that are some of the smartest, most motivated, most capable people that I've seen. None came from a tech background at all getting great jobs. Delroy at CDW, Daniel over there at JP Morgan Chase, Yvonne over there at AWS, and they are lucky to have these fine professionals. Yes, I'm with you, Alexander. I do love it. Okay, go Agapai. And I know you know what I mean, Alex, with your last name. Yes, Cameron, you know, I spend time with our grads. I like to talk to our graduates. Why? Well, first, they're my family. But two, they get to tell me about their job. And when I talk to them often, if they visit me, I can give them some guidance. And I can ask them, hey, wait, what we're teaching is it exactly what you're doing? And they say, yes. So make sure we're in touch. We're never people that would just say, we think we know what employers need. We ask employers constantly. Sometimes some CEO level executive reach out to us and say, I need your architect. Sometimes people from Amazon call us and say, I need your architect, and other organizations. Why? Because we train people to be architects, not to be certification junkies. We teach them the skills they need to get hired. They wow their employers. They transform their customers' businesses, but they're not coding, configuring, or playing with Linux or Python or Terraform. I can promise you that. Mr. Businessman, good morning. Cloud Hard, your water consumption at this level, I aspire to be. I am still sitting at a Starbucks espresso. I'm sure Chris has a Diet Coke. Mr. Businessman, yes, Chris is probably drinking his Diet Coke. I drink approximately 2 gallons of water per day. Now, to be fair, some of it is for health reasons, but some of it is for physical reasons. Many people don't know that I was injured while doing some martial arts training in Israel many years back, and I couldn't walk for a period of 7 years. And I did about 8 hours a day of physical therapy. And what I do now, Mr. Businessman, to be able to continue to walk, well, every day I have a 3-hour routine. It involves an hour of specialized, highly tuned yoga, maybe an hour and a half. And then I sit in a 160-degree sauna, and I manipulate my joints, and that seems to get me through so I can sit in a chair for a couple more hours that day. So yes, when you do that and you're in a 160-degree room for 90 minutes and you're doing yoga in a 130-degree room, yes, I said 130, and Bikram yoga is only 104 degrees. I drink a lot. There's no way around it. So love to drink water, and I highly recommend it. I personally like alkaline water in Greece, but alkaline water for 2 gallons a day is a little pricey for me, so I just drink local spring water. Mr. Businessman, what's going to happen is when you have a little bit more time, when you're done the rigorous training you're doing, you have more time for the gym, more time to take care of your health. I'm proud of you, Mr. Businessman. I did a practice interview with you a few weeks ago. It was really good. Kurt Moody from Idaho. Cloud Hard was love a job as a solution architect. You can have a job as a solution architect. All that you really need to do is learn the right skills. It's all about having the right skills. She said you've been in retail banking and mortgages over the last 20 years. With no tech experience, can you do your programming at Cloud Hard? Delroy, did you have any experience when you did my program? No. Delroy was an EMT with 0 experience. Daniel Bosu was selling shoes at Nordstrom with 0 experience. Ivan Tamba, who's hired by AWS, was working and as a waiter while going to school full time. Jennifer was a mental health tech, and she recently got hired as a cloud architect. Jermaine, who recently got hired, was selling landscaping gear. Jeffrey, who's a very impressive architect of mine, was a geologist doing some kind of geospatial imaging, GIS, imaging the earth. I have no idea what it was, but it was a totally unrelated career. Now, what if I told you that being a mortgage broker would be more beneficial to you than if you were a software engineer? And here's the reason. What do we do as architects? We design, present, and sell solutions to improve our customers' business performance. So if you've got a banking background, you have some business acumen. I'm sure you can read a financial statement, read a balance sheet. You can probably calculate a return on investment capital model. And you know how to sell products, financial products. That is literally speaking 30% of the job there. So I would say you're actually advantaged coming from that background. Now, if you were coming from a programmer background, and we get programmers hired every single day, there's no coding in the architect job. And everything that we do is network and data center design, not coding design. So you're better off coming from a banking perspective than you ever would be coming from a software engineering perspective, because it's more related to the job. We sell, and sell. And selling mortgages and being able to build a clientele to sell mortgages and build the following and trying to consult with someone to find the right product to solve their challenges. That is the job of the architect. So the job of the architect is very similar to the management consultant. It is extremely tied to sales. Our bonuses and commission structures are extremely tied to sales. The architect is not a hands-on tech position. It's a sales position, a leadership position. Banking is a huge background. And not only that, it will also help you by designing solutions for banking clients. I did. I used to practice medicine, Kurt. That's right. I used to practice internal medicine. Then I became a network engineer and architect within 6 months. I was the lead architect at the world's largest ISP and the most critical team there. Then a couple of months later, I was on Wall Street designing systems for banks. Then with literally 1 year experience, I was working as a principal consulting architect. Yes, a principal consulting architect with 1 year experience. Now, that had a lot to do with my communication skills from medicine, my emotional intelligence from medicine, my empathy, and there was that. And then I went and got an MBA, and that gave me broader business acumen, and that further escalated my career, and I spent decades in this. And what do you think I did for a couple of years? For a couple of years, after working on Wall Street, I designed architectures for the world's biggest banks. When I wasn't doing that, you know what I was doing? After that, I was designing solutions for healthcare because I had an industry background. So industry acumen, hugely beneficial. Finance background, hugely beneficial because they're the people that need the most digital transformation. Banks will spend more money on tech to have a competitive advantage. And if you know the business, you'll be in a much better place to design, present, and sell solutions. The banking industry pays the most. And I love your background. It is fantastic, fantastic, fantastic. Chris, we can go to the next one. Lady Godiva. You went to an event last night and met a business owner who does containment. He was so impressed by your conversation that he wanted to have coffee. Excellent, Lady Godiva. See, I've seen you in class, and I've watched your posture. I've watched your classiness and your poise, and I've seen your executive presence. And yes, what I really think is you're exactly what people are looking for. Those characteristics that I was calling you, which make you stand out so strongly. You're turning on the camera and participating and really being in there. I would think a lot of people would want to hire you, and a lot of people would want to talk more. You're everything that I would want on my team, Lady Godiva. I know it. And I expect you to shine and blossom and do some incredible, incredible, incredible things. And we're training you to even be a better leader, which are going to work on your natural, innovative skills. So I'm happy to hear this, Lady Godiva. I'm excited. And wow, I've got a class for you today. It's going to blow your mind. We're going to do a situational awareness. We're going to talk about safety because you guys are going to be traveling a lot. I'm going to show you the frame of reference. We're going to play some keep it in memory games so you can figure out what's going on in the office around you, so you can navigate interviews and navigate sales calls, something sales do. And it is going to be a fun, fun, fun day. It's going to be a very unique class, but it's going to be a fun, fun, fun day. So can't wait to see you today. And I'm so happy to hear this, Lady Godiva. You just told him I wasn't working for a company now, and he said he didn't care because he still found value in my knowledge of the cloud. Exactly, Lady Godiva. Your knowledge of the cloud is what makes you so special. You understand the cloud. and you understand how to communicate the cloud. And you didn't just learn the name of a service. Your knowledge of the cloud is exceptional. And I'm sure he's going to need you on your team. I would. It's almost impossible to find someone like you, but let me tell you what you are and why he knew that you weren't working and you're brand new to the industry and why he needed you. Here's the reason. You have a can-do attitude. That's 2 out of 10 people that even have the can-do attitude. Your communication skills are top 10%, which means you can do the most critical thing in architecture, which is communication. Why? Wait, it's not your tech skills? Of course it's not your tech skills, it's your communication skills, and here's why. Nobody hands you a piece of paper and says, build this. No. You have to interview the executives, interview the department heads, interview the people, and figure out what they need. And they're not going to be talking in tech requirements, so you got to get those requirements by listening, and you're really good at that in your communication skills. Now, your presence in class, I asked you one day, are you military? Because you commanded respect. Your posture was straight up and down. I could see your leadership skills, and I wanted to know what your tough training was. And remember I asked that question. Now, when I saw you document and write up things as an architecture, and I know you're participating in our next AWS Solution Architect Professional book. And guess what? I saw your writing, and again, loved it. I approved that last document. So you add that with your cloud competency, your networking competency, your data center competency, anybody would want you on their team. So I hope this goes well, Lady Godiva. But if it doesn't, and this was just a dinner that you had casually, I know with pretty good certainty something incredible is going to be in your future. You'll be like Delroy Bat or all these other wonderful people that I've had the pleasure of working with in the last year. Hello, do you need any experienced tech knowledge preparing for a cloud architect with us? No, we assume you have no tech knowledge. And it's better if you don't, because if you do, you're going to have to unlearn certain of the things to open up new pathways in your mind. I assume that everybody has no tech background because we get people, like we get doctors in our program, we get nurses in our program, we get mental health tech people in our program, we get engineers that have done software development, but there's no software development in our world, so they have to start them at scratch too. The only people that are advantaged tech-wise are people that have been network architects or data center architects. Why? Because we're dealing with networking and data center technologies. Pretty much everything else is a different career. But it doesn't matter your past. Your background doesn't matter. What you ate for dinner yesterday does not affect you tomorrow. I mean, it just doesn't. I mean, think about it this way. Every day is a new day to succeed. I used to practice internal medicine, right? Now, I remember I said, I'm going to be a network engineer, and they all laughed at me. They said, Hal, you didn't go to school for this. You got to be help desk or a network admin or one of these basic roles and do that for a couple of years. And I said, no way. If I'm leaving practicing medicine, I'm going to be a network engineer. And I went on my first network engineer interview, and they hired me as a senior engineer because they said I was better than the staff and I had zero experience. So you need no experience, but you do need to do this. You need to be willing to do the work, willing to participate, and read the instructions and read the required reading, do the required labs. And we're not going to talk about silly mini labs like they do in certification courses. I mean, you're going to be building your own cloud, and we're going to teach you how to do it, and you're going to learn the whole cloud. Because while somebody else is worried about turning on a virtual machine, which I taught an 8-year-old to do in 3 minutes, you're going to be designing clouds. You're going to be working with actual Active Directory service. You're going to be working with the technology that businesses need, not the stuff that's covered in certification. And you'll be irresistible to employers if you do the work with the right attitude, energy, enthusiasm, and presence. So you don't need any knowledge. We'd be honored and privileged to work with you. And if you do the work, when you're done, you're cloud hired, you'll be part of the party and celebrations like the rest of us. Our team celebrates every cloud hired. So you don't need any background, Habib, and we'd love to work with you. I see the 30% discount code is up. Yes, we are running a 30% special across all of our programs, and I just want you all getting cloud hired. Everybody give me a cloud hired in the chat box. That's why we live. That's what we do. It's all about getting cloud hired.
Hey, Mike, there was a follow-up to that question that you just answered that might change a little bit of your answer.
You have a few months of experience as a software person. That's fine. Don't worry about it. We'll take you out of thinking like a software developer and we'll teach you how to think like an architect. No big deal. We're in good shape every way. I went from engineer to architect and I needed to keep thinking. And I've gotten a lot of architects hired. And you know what? Here's the thing. It's all about having the right skills. So yesterday, I had one of my really, really great students. And he was in class yesterday. And he said, Mike, I had a technical architect title, and all I really did was engineering. And after taking your class, my manager was so impressed with my architectural design that he asked me if I'd want to start working with the customer. And he said it's his first time in years that he's now do customer facing role. And he's so excited about his career. He said, you were right. He said, I had to unlearn the engineering and I had to learn a different way of thinking. My thinking went from how to design, do the tech to how to transform a customer's business. And then Oscar said, when he had the chance to really design things and he built the team and he led the team, the management said, who are you? Oh my God, this is great, great, great work. So he's really there. So it doesn't matter your past. I like to say your past does not define your future. And here's the reason. It doesn't matter your background. Delroy was a healthcare person, an EMT, working as a cloud security architect now. But what he did do is he worked hard. He worked hard. And he did the right training. So the thing is, in software, you're writing code. We don't write code. But if you did write some software, perhaps you know the way applications are developed. That would be advantageous. Knowing that, hey, these are the way software protocols and procedures are done, that would be super, super, super capable. And that will help you. Likewise, for me, I was one of the first Cisco certified internet experts. Back when it was an incredibly challenging exam, back when it was a 2-day exam, before the failure rate was so high that they made it a single-day exam and made it much simpler. So less people would be frustrated when they failed the exam. Personally, I loved it when it was really hard. Why? It kept only the people that were competent passing the exam. But that's neither here nor there. And I remember I had to stop thinking in terms of commands, stop thinking about the command line. And one time I tried to do engineering as an architect and I almost got fired because while I was focused on zooming into one thing to do art engineering, I lost the big picture. So we can easily transition you. We'll change the way you think. We'll change your brand. And yes, you need a new brand. And here's why you need a new brand. Delroy, can you come here for a second? Now, Delroy, you can put this in your shirt. What we're going to ask Delroy is, how many jobs did he actually apply for? How many certifications did Delroy have? And we're also going to ask him what it was like transitioning from an EMT with no tech background to a cloud architect with us.
Hey, everyone.
Take my seat.
So we said the first question was again, Mike?
The first question was, did you have a tech background before you?
No.
No. What were you doing?
I was an EMT for a healthcare company.
Okay. Move the microphone on the low card. So it was an EMT taking people back and forth to the hospital. Now, Delroy, you actually took a boot camp prior to us that was tech, and we made you forget all that tech.
Yeah, that was, I don't even like to think about that because that was just a complete waste of time. I stayed in that program for about 6 months, and then right when I got to the end, they kind of just ignored me and brushed me off the side when it's time to get hired.
How many interviews prior to us had you gone on, and were you successful?
I went on a lot of interviews. I got a lot of interviews, but they're like, oh, sorry, you don't have enough experience. The soft push away.
And experience, as I taught you, means they didn't like your competency.
Yeah, exactly.
Nobody cares about experience. They cared about your competency. So you were in our program for about a month.
Mm-hmm.
And then you had multiple offers in security. What were they?
I got a lot of security engineering roles. Like I said, I took the boot camp and I got a little bit of knowledge from there, and then I combined what I learned from your interview skills, and I just watched it maybe 10 times, and then took notes about it, and then I started going on interviews with that knowledge, and then I think by the end of that week, I had within that 2 weeks, because it's a 2-stage interview process. I think I had 2 or 3 offers on the table, and then I took one. And then I kept going, and then eventually I got the cloud architecture. I mean, the security architecture role.
Okay, now the cloud security architect job, did you apply for it?
No, they reached out to me.
They reached out to you.
Yeah.
Do you have any cloud certifications?
No.
So companies reached out to you with 0 cloud certifications. Now, how many offers did you actually get as a cloud security architect?
A lot. I got like a lot of offers. Well, a lot of interest letters like, hey, do you want to interview with us? Do you want to sit down? Like, do you want to go out for dinner? Do you want to talk about this new role? I still get those a lot, but I just kind of ignore them because I like where I'm at right now.
You like where you're at because you work for one of the best companies, a partner that I worked with, quite frankly.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. It's not about your tech. Do you ever touch the tech?
No, we never touch that.
Now, you work with at least 100 architects. What are they doing?
They're going to meetings. They're going to more meetings, and they're going to dinners.
So meetings, more meetings, and dinners. So when I told you as an architect and I spent $100,000 on lunches over the course of a year bringing a team, does that seem unrealistic?
Easy. I think easy because like they'll even take clients out on like trips and like hang out and like really get to know each other. So I think that you can like really surpass that number.
But no cloud certifications. Anybody asking you about certifications?
No one asks me about that. Everybody wants to know, what are my thoughts, your opinions, and then kind of can you listen to me and kind of help me with my business and help our needs?
So it's all about their business.
Yeah.
So how much would you say is tech and how much would you say is business?
It feels like an 80-20 split, if I'm being honest.
80-20 business or 80-20 tech?
80 business, 20% tech. And the 20% tech is just knowing who to reach out to, the vendors, how to coordinate which engineers to help you along that. Like the 20% is just knowing who the technical experts are to get them to help you work on your project.
And is soft skills required to get the best experts to work with you?
Definitely, because they have to respect you, the client has to respect you, and then the technical experts have to respect you as well.
Have you ever spoken to management or these organizations? Have they ever given you the perception of the 10x AWS certified person?
No, not at all. Not even a little bit. Not even a little bit.
So it's all about your communication skills. Now, everybody look at Delroy. Yes, he's looking at me when I'm asking the questions. He's 25 years old. 25. He had no idea he was going to be on camera today.
No.
He was going to participate in my class and share some experiences. He asked if he could come to my house earlier. We went out last night for dinner, and I was like, yes, just having you around will make me feel good. Because when I see people like Delroy, hard work, motivation, I get impressed because that's exactly who I see to be successful. So thank you, Delroy.
No problem, Mike.
I'll switch seats for a few minutes. I may ask you to get involved. You've got a good story to share. And I want people to hear it because I don't want people focused on, trying to learn engineering skills and then wonder why they can't get hired as an architect because it's a different career. Oh, and Delroy, did we do any prep for that?
No.
He just came here. It's the first time I got to see him. So Habib, we can do for you what we did for Delroy. Just follow the course, do the work, and you're going to be fantastic. And we'd love, love, love to help you. Cloud hired, yes, absolutely. And Ansem, from my team member, my staff economist, so good to see you. Shindu, bootcamp life, yes, we have lots of fun. Robbie Singh, I am trying to change lives. Robbie Singh, I love your name. I think the name Lion is the coolest name in the world. I think the lion is the coolest animal in the world. So nice to have you here today. And thank you. Daniel Mitra, glad to see you. Delroy is always ready to deliver. That's the key of an architect. Why did I not prep him? Because our lives are literally this. We're going to go parachute into a meeting. We may have no idea what the meeting's about, and we're going to go through a discovery process. And who knows what we're going to hear along the way. But we have to listen, because in between, pleasantries, those special nuggets come out, and that's the job. Getting those nuggets, what's going on in the business, what are the challenges, what are the pain points, and how do we solve them? Most critical skill for that is communication skills. Tom Artheus with the last name that makes me think you're Greek like me. Well done, Delroy. Yes, 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 yes. How do people working in the UK attend the live classes? Your wife is enrolled in the recording program, but you want to join the live one and may not miss any of the live. Here's the thing, Ravi Singh. Our courses are really based upon the US, the UK, Middle East, and Africa. And we also have students in Asia Pacific regions, in Australia, New Zealand, and Singapore, Hong Kong, and all these wonderful places. We really do, and other countries there. But the key for us is 80% of our customers are in North America and South America, which means US, Canada, all the countries in South America. We cover all of Africa, and we cover all of Europe. Now, we do have people in India, we do have people in Asia, and some of the courses are not there. So we had to pick times that would actually work. But realistically speaking, Robbie, the Tuesday class that we have that's at 10 a.m. is really 3 p.m. UK time, and it's recorded. The Thursday class that we actually have is actually at 4 p.m. Eastern, which is 9 p.m. UK time. So that doesn't conflict with work at all. The Friday class that we have is at 1 p.m. Eastern, which is 6 p.m. UK time. So Robbie, the best thing to do is to attend 2 out of those 3 classes live and attend all of them. Now, in that class that you miss, what I would do, and I recommend to students, is that if they've got some questions, they can pop into that class for 10, 15 minutes. They can ask their questions, and then they can watch the replay. And I have many, many students that are successful that way. We record every class because we have to, because I know maybe the class you want to see it a second time. And if you can work from home and still attend, even better. But Ravi Singh, we would love to work with you. Love, love, love to work with you. And if you said your wife is with us, that's really fantastic. But please, love to work with you. And today in class, boy, do we have a special class. It's not going to be a normal class at all. But, someone tried to kidnap me in Panama one day when I was at work. And it's knowing what to look for ahead of time. But also, in that interview, if you can see what's going on around you, you'll be able to notice little minor details and blow away the hiring manager. And you'll be able to tune your interview based upon how to create better rapport. So today's class is going to be a fun one. It's not going to be a normal one. Normal classes, Robbie, are going to come back on Tuesday next week. And we'd love, love, love to see you in class. Especially we've got this 30% discount. Please take advantage of it. You're just starting your cloud journey. You're currently studying for the first exam, and you register for our Solutions Architect Bootcamp. Do I recommend getting both certifications? Well, before I recommend anything, I would like to know what your goals are, because your goals will determine which certifications. Now, I'm going to tell you right now, nobody gets hired based upon just certifications. It's about skills. So if you could tell us your goal, I could tell you how to get there. And also, if you could take the CLF 01 exam and translate that into the actual exam, that would be great. One of the things that we have to be very cautious about as architects is not using acronyms and communicating in simple, plain language. I got to tell you, there's a great person that's now working as a cloud security architect right now. And he was trying to negotiate a higher salary at his last job. And he says to me, Mike, how do I negotiate a higher salary? And I asked this bright person, what do you do? And he says, I do VM. And I said, are you working with virtual machines or doing voicemails? And he says, no, I'm doing vulnerability management. And that's the key. We cannot be using terms like this. Early in my career, I used to practice medicine. And a PVC to me was a premature ventricular contraction. And when somebody has too much of them, what do you have to do? You give some amiodarone, you give some lidocaine, something like that. And I'm literally speaking, I got a call at 2:00 in the morning. And the person was calling me and they were saying, all the PVCs are problematic. They're going up and going down. And I said, issue a lidocaine bolus, 1.5 milligrams per kilogram, and then titrate at this dosage. And they said, huh? I said, you're telling me the patient's got a lot of PVCs. They woke me up at 2:00 in the morning. They said, no, permanent virtual circuits, Mike. I'm like, oh, you just sort of called it a permanent virtual circuit. I didn't know it. Here's the thing. Acronyms cause errors. Errors cost businesses billions of dollars. Acronyms also cause death. Medical people used to type MS. Now, were they referring to multiple sclerosis or morphine sulfate? Because it used to get there and patients used to die. So please, simple, plain language. That's the first thing that I can tell you for an architecture career. But please tell me your goals, and here's the reason why. If you just get certifications, you're going to have the wrong brand for the job you want. And if you've got the wrong brand, it won't be where people are coming to you to hire you. You're going to be begging to get interviews. So the key is to find exactly what you want to do. learn all the skills for your job, and then get the right certifications to build your brand to help you get the interview. Nobody gets hired based on certifications, but the certifications will help build your brand, and they can help others reach out to you, which we love. So tell me your goals, because otherwise it's sort of like saying, Mike, should I get on this airplane or this airplane? And I would say, where do you want to go? Do you want to go to Chicago? Do you want to go to Cambodia? Do you want to go to the Cayman Islands? Do you want to go to Cape Town, South Africa? Do you want to Cameroon? See, I just don't know. And clearly, I love the Cookie Monster, and I've read a lot of Cookie Monster books, and I like things that begin with the C, just like Cookie Monster. So please tell me your goals, because I want to help you get them as fast as possible. Got questions? Please ask them. Anakin, what happens after you design and sell it? What do you do after that? You go to the next customer and design and sell it to the next customer. And then you go to the next customer and go to the next customers. Sometimes you're working on 4 or 5 different architectures all at the same time. And that's why we're consultants, effectively. Go design an architecture for bank. Okay, they finally said, yes, we want to buy it. You hand it over to a service delivery executive. That service delivery executive will have a project manager that manages the task. They will manage the relationship while things are being built. They'll bring in a team of cloud engineers to build stuff, DevOps engineers, software developers, the post-sales implementation people. And while that's going on, you're your next customer. Now, the only time you'll ever go back to that last customer is 2 years later when you need to redo their architecture, 6 months later when they have a new thing that they want to add, which you'll be doing, or somewhere along the way, somebody's going to have an outage and somebody's going to offend somebody and ruffle feathers. And you're going to go to that customer with the account executive, and you're taking your customers out for dinners and drinks and scotch. You're going to be repairing relationships. So that's the only time you'll go back to your old customer until it's time to do a refresh. But think about it this way. You might work with a bank that does a unified communications architecture on the cloud. And then poof, 3 months later, they want to optimize their financial products, and they want a retail-based trading application. Poof, you're going to be involved in that. And then a year later, something else that they were doing is timed out, and they want to refresh that. So you'll be going to the next customer, next customer, next customer. S. Yemeni, hope you're well. What's the time taken from start to get hired, and how long is the internship? Our programs are approximately 8 months. But I say approximately, here's the reason. Delray Back got through pretty quickly. And he took a basic job, and he stayed in my program for about a year until he got hired. And I wasn't going to rush him. I was honored and thrilled that he got a first job, a job that paid for him to build a life, build some savings. And then he got a so-called security architect job, and that may have taken him 12 months when he went from the time they were scratch. Now, he had a really good job that paid him plenty before he got his good one. But the point is there's that. Some people get through my program instantly. I had a Richard Afukar who came from my program and was hired by AWS in 3 weeks. I had a Joe Mellon who had a CCIE background who was hired as a senior solution architect within 3 weeks. But Asyami, I had a student that had to go to Ethiopia for 2 months. And you know what? She went to Ethiopia, she came back, and she attended classes because I don't care how long it takes them to get through. So that's why we do these things. So keep that in the back of your mind. We'll give you up to a year in the program because I want you all getting hired. On average, it takes about 8 months for someone to get through. I've seen people do it faster if they work 20 hours a day. I've seen people do it slower, but I don't care. SME, all I care is that you get cloud hired. Cloud hired. Keep that in the back of your mind. Chris, we can go to the next one. June Logan, what if you want to be in security as a cloud architect? I have a solution architect associate. Would I need the CompTIA Security Plus? You had no experience in tech. Well, first, I'm going to tell you, never waste your time with the CompTIA Security Plus. No employers ever care about it at all, except for U.S. government, if your goal is U.S. government. But you want to be an architect. And it's not about certifications. I'm going to tell you right now, you can have all the certifications in the world and no one cares. All of them. The key is you need to know security. What is security? Well, security is how do you secure the systems? What goes into the security policy? What goes into the training and education of people for, say, some anti-malware, anti-phishing, anti-social engineering? What is your end-to-end architectural components that you're using? How are you using zero trust? Are you using next generation firewalls, intrusion detection, intrusion prevention systems? What kind of SIEM are you using to correlate event logs and do something about it? What kind of event-driven security are you doing with things like that? Now, what goes in? How do you optimize your demilitarized zone? Those are the kind of things. How many layers of firewalls do you need? What are you doing in terms of data loss prevention? I'm going to tell you right now, it's not covered in Security Plus, and it's not covered in a CISSP. It's covered by learning information security. So you can get all the certifications in the world, and no one's going to care. What do you need? Competency in terms of how to design it. Now, the next thing, June Logan, I'm concerned about is how well do you present yourself? We don't touch the tech. Ever. We design and present it and sell it. So you need business acumen, leadership skills, sales skills, executive presence, emotional intelligence, the ability to present, because you're going to be giving a presentation as part of the interview process. So Logan, you need these skills. So what you need to learn for cloud security is as follows. First, the business piece, and you can take our training program, which will teach you that business piece, or you can get an MBA. Remember, people don't want engineers as architects, and certifications are about configuring, not designing. We design, not configure. So there's that. 2, the certifications are teaching you irrelevant nonsense. You do the Certified Solution Architect Associate or the AWS Advanced Security, and they talk about WAF and all these AWS proprietary things. Who uses them? Small businesses. Big businesses use next generation firewalls. From Checkpoint or Palo Alto or Fortinet or Cisco. Again, none of this stuff is covered in certification. So the certification will teach you how to do junior level admin stuff, not be an architect. But you need those business acumen so you can get an MBA, or you can take a presentation skills course. I took 3 of them. It was about $15,000 to do it. That's why I take this course and I make it cheap so that anybody in the world can do it. I do it at the lowest cost possible that we can run the course and make our students successful. Then next, you have to know how to command a room, which means executive presence. You don't get that in an MBA program, so you can either take our training or take some executive presence training. I took about $20,000 of executive presence training because that's what it really took. And $250,000 to learn these skills of training and education. Now, thankfully, my employers paid for a lot of it. So there's that. Now, you have to know how to sell. And it's not like selling a car. Imagine how good the seats are going to feel, how cool you're going to feel driving down the road in your new Ferrari. It's about showing a customer that when they invest $30 million in your security solution, there's a reason to do it. So you're going to have to quantify the business risk that they have from security. For example, you might realize that it's between $150 and $200 per person in the event of a security breach in terms of what it costs you to fix it. Now, what is the brand damage to a business based upon their sales? What assets are they trying to protect? And based upon the assets they're trying to protect, you can determine what the level of security is. For example, you don't spend $1 billion to protect photos of my cat Cindy. So that's why these things are so critical. And you need to learn the business side of it. Now, next is how do you learn design? And design is not taught in any certification. So how do you put the pieces and parts together in an architecture? Not taught in a certification. So if you're not with us, make sure you get some real people. Reach out to Microsoft and see what they're doing. Reach out to the McAfees of the world. Reach out to the Trend Micros of the world. Get some presentations from Palo Alto, Cisco, Fortinet, Checkpoint. And I'm going to actually ask Delroy this thing because he is a working cloud security architect. Come on over, Delroy. Let's ask Delroy how many dinners he's going to with security vendors.
A lot. Checkpoint's been one so far.
A little louder.
Checkpoint so far, F5, and I'm also working with Palo Alto as well. Yep. So those are 3 security vendors that I'm responsible for right now.
A little louder. Now, are they inviting you to dinner constantly to talk about their security architecture?
Yeah, just to talk about architecture, and then I also get a feel for who I am as a person and kind of just build that relationship and that rapport so we can get business done together.
So, dinners, about establishing rapports, architectural designs, and meetings.
Mm-hmm.
You have no cloud certifications whatsoever.
No.
So, Logan, June, you don't need certifications. You need competency. Be like Delroy, get the right skills, and you'll be hired.
No problem.
Okay, so actually, here, magazine back. We got people that are working in the job, so I want to make you get that. You hear it not just from me. I've been doing this for 25 years. If your goal is certifications, plan another career. This is a career where it's business and transformation. 80% business executive, 20% tech. Let's go to the next one. Prevent. Are there any cases where the architecture design failed for, let's say, due to performance or due to feasibility and how to handle such situations? I've seen many architectures fail, and here's the reason why. One person thinks they can do it on themselves. They focus on the tech, they focus on engineering something, and they don't focus on big picture architecture design. In fact, Prabhan, I've spent the last 25 years fixing bad architectures. Here's what goes into a bad architecture. And here's what goes into a good architecture. Delroy Batt will spend the next 25 years mastering how to design a secure system. And he will do nothing other than that, and he's going to be the best. He's 25, and he still gets recruited every single day from the big cloud providers, but he's happy where he's at. And here's the answer why. He knows security architecture. Now let's talk about the tale of two people. One person focuses on architecture. They focus on their leadership skills. So Pravan, I know how to do the network. I'm one of the first CCIs, and I've designed half of the world's largest internet service providers. But if I do the network and I focus on the network, what am I going to miss? The data center, the applications, the business things. So I can't afford to focus on it. So here's how I design an architect for Pravan. And here's why soft skills and communication skills and leadership skills are the most critical. Here's why. I design an architecture. I meet with the customer. I ask about their business goals, pain points, and challenges. And here's what I do. I then go back to my customer. I sell my internal management. Give me 40 to 50 people. Now, the 40 to 50 people that are going to be on my team are going to have 10 to 20 years of tech background and experience. So my team will have 750 years worth of experience. I will lead the team. I will have the experts collaborate. I will then document it, present it, and sell it, and negotiate the deal with the customer. Now, I've seen people that like to get 10x AWS certified. That is the worst thing you could ever do, and here's the reason. All 10x certifications are in somebody else's career. So people focus on DevOps and SysOps and coding and all these other things, and Alexa, things that are zero relevant to the architecture. And when it comes time to designing an architecture, they don't have the strength. Why? Because instead of learning their job, instead of mastering the network and the data center, and mastering architecture, and mastering the leadership skills to build a team of 1,000 people, they focused on passing silly certifications. And in the event somebody's lucky enough to get a job, they're unprepared for the job. So here's what happens. They try to do it themselves. They don't have the charm or the charisma to build the team. So now we got somebody with 10 years experience versus my team, which has 750 years experience. So I always see it. We have major hacking events every single day because of misconfigured S3 buckets. Look, I taught an 8-year-old how to configure an S3 bucket in 2 minutes. It's easy to do the tech. What's the challenge, Prabhan? Knowing what to do and why. And certification training doesn't teach that. So yeah. Now I have seen some people that thought that block storage was fast. Why? Because in their AWS certification, they were told block storage is fast, 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 fast. Well, let's talk about an IO1 provision IOPS, which they were talking about was fast. The fastest drive you could get had 16,000 ops. Now you could go to Best Buy and spend about $150 on a Samsung 980 Pro and get 1 million IOPS. Huh? What? So the performance on the cloud is much less than what we can get in the data center. But most people don't actually know that. That is is the place to be. So kind of put that in the back of your mind. It's knowing the right things. It's knowing the right team. It's knowing your strengths and weaknesses, knowing how to build a team, and knowing what's touchaway and certification is marketing fluff. So if I needed to use IO1 devices to equal the EBS provision IO1, which is the second fastest you can get on the AWS cloud, if I needed to equal that single speed of a hard drive, I would need 16 of these things in RAID 0. And RAID 0 is too dangerous. So that would mean I need another 16 in RAID 0, so I'd have RAID 10. I would need 32 drives and be paying $20, $30, $40, $50,000 a month to equal the performance of my $100 drive. But see, if I knew architecture, I might think about using a bare metal server instead, which I can do on the cloud of the data center. I can get there. So it's all about knowing the network in the data center. If you don't know the network in the data center, you don't know the design, and the design will fail. So it's knowing what you know. Look, my background's expertise. All my students walk out of my program with deep networking and deep security expertise, because I worked in both of these fields extensively. But what do my students really get? Architecture knowledge. How to design and put the pieces together, how to design and present and sell it, and of course, how to get hired. So yes, I've seen incredible designs fails, but it's usually when a jack of all trades is trying to do engineering and architecture at the same time. That's why the best companies like AWS, Azure, Google, Deloitte, Accenture, KPMG, Bearing Point, CDW, IBM. Architects don't touch the tech. They design and present and sell it so they can focus on the big picture. Even the big banks like JP Morgan Chase, our architects don't touch the tech. They focus on the big picture. So yes, I've seen it again and again and again and again. But Pravan, I've interviewed 6,000 people in my career. 6,000. I hired about 10 of them. Well, now with my new company, it's 20. Here's what I'll tell you. I've hired so many people that didn't have the capabilities, but they had the right attitude, energy, enthusiasm. I trained them. Of the 6,000 people I've ever hired, 2 were exceptionally competent in their skills from job 1 as architects. 2. You just got an entry-level job at AWS. Congratulations, cloud hired. Need to specialize in cloud networking. Is this the right place to learn the skills required? Well, I'll tell you this. I designed some of the largest banks in the world. I spent 10 years at Cisco for the most part, educating systems engineers in networking and service-oriented network architectures. I was the lead architect in the healthcare vertical for all of Cisco. I was the lead architect in designing some of the most critical IP networks in banking. And of course, I consulted on every major internet service provider. So if you want to learn networking, here's about the best place you could ever go. My students are working on BGP in class. They're doing IBGP, EBGP. They're dealing with OSPF. They all know how to subnet, supernet, design the routing architectures. They all know how to design high availability multi-cloud solutions. And they know all the things they need to know. So yes, this is the best place that I know to learn networking, unless you want to go to the Cisco Networking Academy, which is equally good. All of my students every one of my architects graduates with knowledge somewhere between the CCNA and CCIE. And here's what I mean by that. A lot of the switching things in basic VLAN tagging trunking is covered in the CCNA curriculum. But BGP and the architecture and the tuning and the IP addressing and planning, that's CCIA level stuff. So all my students get that in my cloud architect career development program and the cloud engineer career development program. But obviously, the cloud architect program is designed to create engineers, and the cloud engineer program is designed to teach. Cloud architect programs for cloud architects, cloud engineer programs for cloud engineers. Who's teaching the networking in my cloud engineer program? Well, me sometimes and my good friend Imran. Imran's been a network engineer for 25 years. Imran has 2 CCIEs. Imran has worked for Juniper and Cisco and every other good company you can possibly imagine. And I knew him from Cisco. In fact, he's one of the people we architects would design it. And then after we architects designed it, presented it, and sold it, you know what happens? I always tell you it goes to a build team. And he was one of the people that would take the designs, re-optimize the designs, and make them super successful. So yes, you want to learn networking? This is the best place that I know to do it. Anakin, it's hard to listen to people who talk too much like an engineer. It has too many details to start and zone out. Honestly, Anakin, is a big problem. I know some companies that in the past that wouldn't let engineers become architects. because they didn't want the data dump of all this irrelevant sort of stuff, which is relevant for engineering, but not for your customer. So for example, it may just be enough for me to say to a customer, look, you need this network load balancer because it's going to improve your speed and availability. It will improve your performance by allowing you to share the load across multiple servers instead of just a single one. It will improve your availability by making sure you don't have any single points of failure. And that way, if you've got 10 servers and one dies, you'll be up and running. But it's also about this network load balancer can lower your overall total cost of ownership. Why? Because you use multiple cheaper virtual machines, which are much cheaper than bigger and more powerful virtual machines. So you get optimized costs, improved availability, and increased system performance, something you need to have. Now, if an engineer goes in there and they start talking about target groups and source groups and health checks and flow algorithms and sticky sessions, they'll literally be escorted out of the room by the executives, probably fired from their job, and their replacement will say, thank you. So yes, it really is. All the architects that I know, we literally speaking have to control what's going on. And that's the reason they hire architects. Because look, we love our engineers. They're the most smart, capable people on the team. We love them. We're nothing as architects without them. They do all the back end work. They are critical people. I recently, my engineers and architects working on a project together so my architects could understand and appreciate these magical engineers behind the scenes. But if we do that as an architect, we'll be fired in the first day. And that's why often it's very hard for engineers to become architects. I train them all the time and they get hired. I have to teach them to unlearn all the engineering and then go learn all the architecture. And yes, you were in class Anakin yesterday, where we had a very established engineer, and the task was to present a 3-minute thing. 7 minutes later, of all these intricate details, the requirements weren't met. So yes, I hate to say it because I love engineers. It's very hard to get all those details. And when you're an executive and you get 2,000 emails a day, and you've got people coming in from all access, and you're overwhelmed, it needs to be explained simply, like I explained the load balancer, not like an engineer. Now, to do an engineer's job, they need to speak and be an engineer. But that's why it's about training for your job and not somebody else's. Because if you train engineering and you want to be an architect, how could anybody hire you? You've got skills for somebody else's job, not the job you need. Great question, Anakin. It's good to see you thinking like an architect. I know you very well. You're awesome. You would like to join the Cloud Architect program with live classes, but you're afraid your times will clash with work. Please, at what time do you have classes during the week? Our classes are, for the Architect program, Tuesday at 10 a.m. Eastern, which is 3 p.m. UK time. Our class is also, and actually by your name, it looks like a Nigerian name. So what I will say is our Monday class, our Tuesday class is at 10 a.m. I believe it's 3 p.m. in Nigeria as well as the UK. Our Thursday class is at 4 p.m. Eastern, which makes it 9 p.m. UK time, 9 p.m. in Nigeria, 10 p.m. in Cameroon, for example, or Central European time. And on Friday, our course is at 1 p.m. Pacific, which means 6 p.m. UK time, Nigeria time, 7 p.m. Central European time, or like in Cameroon, etc. And if you miss a class, don't worry, you can rewatch it. So what I'd say, attend all of the classes you can. If you can't attend the whole class, attend part of the class and watch the recordings for the rest. But do participate. We'd love to work with you, and I'd love you to tell me when you're cloud hired. It's all about getting cloud hired from me. But a lot of the courses self-paced as well. You'll do great. Anakin, you thought PVC was used for plumbing. See, that's the problem with acronyms. Premature ventricular contractions, permanent vessel sinking, polyvinyl chloride. You know, that's the thing. We don't even know. Great point, Anakin. B. Spence, why do we gear our courses, seminars towards architecture instead of engineering? B. Spence, we have two programs. Our cloud engineering course is designed to prepare cloud engineers. Our cloud architect program is designed to prepare cloud architects. Why? Well, if you want to be an architect and you learn engineering, no one will ever hire you because they don't want an engineer. They want an architect. Likewise, if you learn architecture and you're an engineer, nobody will hire you because you have architecture skills. So we teach the skills that are necessary for the job. So why might I train someone to fly an airplane that wants to be an airplane pilot and not train them to be an airplane mechanic? Why? Because if you want to be hired as a pilot, guess what? Nobody cares if you can fix an airplane's engine. And engineering is more of the hands-on tech. So if my architects get taught, now my engineers get taught engineering, which is hands-on configuration, but it's not the silly stuff with the management console. Engineering is, the following. It's knowing how to build the stuff, not how to design the stuff. It's how to performance optimize this stuff. It's configuring things at the CLI. It's dealing with Linux engineering skills. It's dealing with Linux administration skills, which are different. It's knowing how to write Python script for an engineer. It's knowing how to use infrastructure as code in the form of Terraform for the engineer. It's knowing how to automate things with bash scripting. So that's engineering work. Architect work is how do you design, present, and sell it. Architects don't touch the tech. They have to design it, present it, and sell it, which means architects need business acumen, leadership skills, sales skills, executive presence, emotional intelligence. So I train people for their job. Why did doctors not go to nursing school? Because doctors and nurses' jobs are different. Why do pilots and flight attendants get different training? Because their jobs are different. Why do lawyers and doctors get different training? Because their jobs are different. Why do accounting people and finance people get different training? Because their jobs are different. So we gear our training towards the people's career of choice. That's why we do it. Because you train to be an engineer and try to get an architect job, you'll be escorted out of that room so darn fast, they'll tell you to come back when you have more experience. But if you've got the skills to be an architect, even with no experience, you'll be hired. So it's a matter of knowing to have the right skills. So we have different programs for different jobs. I got a great engineering program for engineers here, but not an architecture. Delray, actually, while you're at it, Delray, have you seen an engineer present at a meeting? Okay, let's do this. Let's give you the exact answer. I'm going to interview Delroy on this one. He happened to take off his headphones for something, so you sit down and I'll interview. Now, Delroy, we've established that you don't touch the technology. Is that correct?
Correct.
Now, you do have engineers that you've seen present, right?
Correct.
What does their presentation look like? You can be as nice as possible.
Nice as possible. It's a very confusing, unorganized, and it's a lot of technical talk that everybody in the room is like, okay, when is this guy going to stop? He's just on pouring us with information that's not relevant right now.
You have to stop the person periodically and re-summarize and translate?
Yeah, you have to stop. Like you said earlier, it's a lot of the abbreviation talk and the acronyms that, a lot of people in the room would not be familiar with. And a lot of those people are the ones that sign off on the architecture, design, and approval. So, you got to kind of pause them in between their talking and then kind of high level clean it up real quick before the meeting just goes completely awry.
Now, have you seen engineers try to interview for architect jobs?
I believe so, yes.
Did it work out for them?
No.
Okay.
It's because, like I said, as you get too much into the tech and too much into the weeds, and they don't allow the client to come in and actually voice their opinions, their concerns, and their needs. They just kind of hear firewall, and then they just ramble on about, firewall at the most granular level when the CTO or the CTO doesn't really care about that.
Now, let's be fair. I have a lot of respect for engineers, and I know you do.
Yeah.
Do you think any of the architects that you've met could actually be an engineer?
No, it's really hard to go back. It's once you realize how the type of control and the type of power that you can have as an architect to really help a business and the amount of influence that you can have, you probably would not want to go back to configuring.
But do you think the architects even have the skills to be engineers?
Yes, of course.
Really?
Well, it's like you can, you have the architect does have the ability to go back down and become an engineer, but
what would they have to do? Would an architect have to learn to code?
Yeah, they'd have to go back, learn how to code.
Okay, so they'd have to learn new skills. What I'm saying is, without training, do you think most architects could do the engineers?
Oh, no. Oh, and that's it. They have the capability to, because I think the emotional intelligence part is a very high acumen part. So which means they can go back down to learning how to configure, but I don't think they would want to, or they have to learn a whole new set of skills.
I don't think they want to either, but do the architects you work with, are they good programmers?
No.
Are they spending time on the command line using infrastructure as code in Terraform?
No.
I don't have the skills to do the engineer job. I'm an architect. I would need substantial retraining. Do you think the architects would need substantial retraining for
A
engineering?
lot, years and years and years worth of training.
Now, to go from engineer to architect, do you think they could do it on their own, or do you think they need training?
From engineer to architect,
Yeah.
they're going to need a lot of training. You're going to have to learn how to break the bad habits of not being able and just living in your own world and being able to communicate with other people effectively.
So, would it be fair to say there's a reason I trained you the architect job, as opposed to teaching you engineering?
Yes, it was way more beneficial to learn how to be an architect rather than learn the skill set of being an engineer.
And if I trained you to be an engineer, not an architect, which is why this question is being asked, and you went on these architecture interviews, could you pass them?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, so it makes sense why I train architects one way and engineers
Yeah,
another.
definitely just two different. They live in the same place, but they're just two completely different animals.
Right. They're completely different animals. So if I wanted a cat, I would adopt a cat. If I wanted a dog, I'd adopt a dog.
Exactly, but they
We
can
need both.
exactly, but they can still domestically live in the same place, but they're just two different animals.
Two different animals. Thanks, Delroy.
No problem, Mike.
Thank you. That's why I train architects to be architects and engineers to be engineers, because I don't know how to be an engineer. I did it 25 years ago, and it's been 25 years that I don't know how to be an engineer. I have engineers teaching my engineering course. And that's the reason. Because I can't teach somebody else's job that's not mine. I'll periodically come in and teach networking because I love teaching networking, but that's exactly why engineers and architects get different training. Because once you're hired, and if you got the wrong skills for the job, they can't hire you. That's why, these friends. James T. Interviewing for a cloud admin role. Good money. Good. You're in your program for architecture, endgame security architect. Would taking this role help me or hinder you to get cloud knowledge? It will not increase your cloud knowledge at all, because what you're going to be doing is configuring. And if you want to be an architect or a cloud security architect, and I started teaching you construction, would construction make you a better architect? Absolutely not. Now, James T., if you get hired as a cloud admin, wonderful. If you don't have a job now, you're being paid. I love that. I love people earning money. Take the cloud admin role, do it, and it's at least going to look good that you work in the cloud. And then what we'll do is we'll make sure you learn architecture things, and we'll have to rebrand your cloud admin work. And here's the reason. Nobody wants a cloud admin as an architect. I'm going to say it right now. Nobody wants a cloud engineer as an architect either. But what we'll do is we'll translate your related experience. So James T., if, for example, you're setting up a virtual machine and you're deploying a bunch of them via a Terraform script, instead of talking about the tech that you're using in your resume, you'll talk about the transformation. What is the business impact of the things you're doing? So when you do a job that's not the same job, it's okay. It will translate these things back. But no, I don't think it'll help you be a better architect, because it'll teach you a different set of skills. But you know what? Here's the thing is, I do believe life is cumulative. And you might make contacts at a cloud company, which would be very helpful for you to be an architect. So just make sure that you don't fall into the cloud admin role. Wear a suit to work, and dress properly. Why? You want to be seen as the business leader. The business leader. So there's that. Now, next, always speak as an executive. Don't bring yourself down. Don't start using acronyms. Don't look, sound, walk, or talk like the rest of the cloud admins. Volunteer for bigger, more strategic projects that involve design. Poof, you're going to be great. So look, James, it'd be great if you take the job, especially if it's a higher paying job than you have now. Or if you don't have a job and it is a job, fantastic, I love it. But just focus on being an architect. You know, I like to say that every person's a leader. And here's what I mean by this. I remember when I didn't have a title, I was a sales engineer. Then I was leading teams of 50. Why? I was actually working as an enterprise architect, even though I didn't know at the time. And I was just building teams and bringing in the best of the brightest and bringing out the best in others. And James, you too can do that. So look, you have an opportunity to go to a cloud provider? Excellent. Looks good on your brand. If you go to AWS as a cloud admin, you know who would be thrilled to steal you away? Azure as a solution architect. Why? Companies like to hire their competitors because it weakens them and they get to learn more knowledge about their competition. So Here's the thing. Now, granted, you may have an NDA, but they still like to steal their competitors because, in the art of war, they say steal your enemy's food. Because they're worried about food, they can't be worried about fighting. They get weakened. So work for the one and then go somewhere else. You have lots of opportunities. If you go to Azure, you could go to Google or AWS, whatever the case is. They're all meet the new boss. Same as the old boss kind of things. The cloud is just a network and a data center that's been virtualized. No differences between them. Subtle service differences, but in many cases, they're proprietary services which you shouldn't use anyway. So, yes, James, I'd be honored if you get it. If you get it, tell me no, because I'd be thrilled for you to get something and then still do our program and still get Cloud Architect hired. Rule saying, how are the labs different from the Cloud Security Architect path? Well, our labs aren't different because our labs are based upon really understanding the fundamental stuff. So we are still going to be working with firewalls. All of our architects do. So the labs aren't going to be different because remember, the labs that I have are just enough to basically prove to employers you're competent. So building a cloud, for example, is there. Now the key is this. That's different when you train to be a cloud security architect is your focus. Learn more about the next generation firewalls. Learn more about data loss prevention. You're going to have to do some reading on how to write a security policy. You'll have to learn how to translate frameworks into something that actually means something to people. You're going to have to learn, the training of the people. You're going to have to learn SIEM. And I hate to use things like this, but it's really about, event correlation from logging files to make predictive things. So it's not the labs. And why am I so not lab focused? Yes, we've got about 60 to 70 labs in the program, maybe more. But why? The labs are just to prove competency. See, we will never touch the tech, ever. So what gets you hired as a cloud architect, cloud security architect, is having cloud architect knowledge and mastering security. Vulnerability management, what goes into that? Patch management, what goes into that? What needs to be done to the servers to lock them down? Disabling unnecessary services, host-based firewalls, host-based IDS, IPS systems. What goes into the security policy? What goes into the education and training of the users with regards to anti-phishing, anti-social engineering? And trust me, I'll prove to you in class, if you want in class, how easy it is to do some social engineering and break into the systems just with just charm. And that's part of what you do. So it's all about that. So it's not about labs. A good cloud security architect friend that's here right now is never touching the technology. Why? Because it's not his job. So it's not about labs, but he is learning Checkpoint and all their products and their capabilities. He's learning Palo Alto stuff, FlareToNet stuff. Why? Because that's going to be his job. So training for your job. So labs aren't different, but the things you have to focus on are different. I say, thanks. You're welcome. It's always nice to have you. Anakin, thanks, Dory, for answering. Yes, Dory, thank you for answering and just being put on the spot in about a second and a half notice. You can see he's a good architect because that's what he has to do there. Also, thank you, Mike, for giving us so much of your time, very valuable knowledge. Anakin, thank you so much. I'm honored and privileged to be here. I love helping people, and I love getting people hired. Thank you. I'm so happy, Mofa. And that's why we're so focused, and I'm thrilled that you got it. Almighty, my brother in New Jersey, cloud hired. Yes, you were in class yesterday. You loved the collaboration. Your team was full of such wonderful people. Had a lot of fun working together, and then with them picking and pitching in to get the job done. That's the job, Anakin. Communications, collaborations, and team building. You see how it's amazing? There's an African proverb that's probably my favorite expression in the entire world. If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. That's the thing. The architects are all about creating the team and going far together. So create the team. Build, bring out the best in others, and amazing things happen. And I know I say the word amazing a lot, but I've seen amazing things happen. And I feel it's exciting when you take a concept that somebody told you about, you put 50 people together of all different backgrounds, educations, and experiences. Look at the innovation you got. Unbelievable. Almighty good morning out, everyone. Good morning over there, Allen, New Jersey. And yes, coffee is a great idea. James T. As someone new to the field, having but little no professional background, what can you do to build a brand? James is a bunch of a lot of things. For example, you can build a brand by making intelligent LinkedIn posts. Posts that show you're an architect versus an engineer. Posts that show business acumen, leadership skills, executive presence, emotional intelligence, architecture, design, digital transformation. 2, James, you're my student, so participate in book writing. Because in a few weeks, we're going to be delivering a brand new AWS Certified Solution Architect Associate and Professional ebook. And the people that are working on that are now going to be published cloud computing officers. Volunteer in our Cloud Heroes Africa mission. And then you can be a part-time cloud architect instructor when you've got some more experience, training those in need in sub-Saharan Africa. Our team has 50 volunteers that are working on that. And my good friend Alphonse Shang and I, we function in some way as sponsors. We talk to each other and we help each other out. So participate in this. Now, participate really in those classes. Get on camera. Let the world see you. And post some thought leadership. Personally, I intentionally make a post per day or 2 posts that are designed to build the perfect cloud architect brand for my students. And when my students copy my posts and leave intelligent comments on my posts that show that they're architects, they get interviews just directly from that. So go out there and build your brand. Show that you're somebody special. Co-author a blog with us if you can, if you're ready at some point in the future. I can't do it with everybody, but you can submit one. If we like it, we can co-author it, publish it with you, and then we can show it to our larger audience, which is bigger, showing you as an expert. But go out there and build your brand. Make sure your resume doesn't show stuff that looks too techy. Make sure your resume shows digital transformation in it. And those are the kind of things that you can do. Participate and go out there and show the world you're ready. The world to come to you like Daryl. He didn't interview. You didn't need to. People came to him. But he followed our messages for the last year. Social media content, participates in our stuff, came to the classes, learned how to present. And then when you make this content and you present it like an executive, simple, clear language, plain language, and everybody knows what you're talking about, wow, the world will come to you. It'll totally come to you. And that's what you need to. So James, just keep doing what you're doing, follow the program, do the lessons in the program, one by one, by one, by one. 6 months from now, you'll have a cloud architect brand. A good one, too. Could you share how to improve your speaking cadence and pattern? You speak very flat and a monotone voice and naturally use a lot of filler words. But James, in class, we work on this. So James, when you're in class and I ask for someone to present, turn on your camera and present. And our team will give you feedback. Are you turning in your homework assignments, for which my team is giving you recommendations? Are you doing the emotional intelligence and mind control training that are in there so you control and you can manage your emotions? Are you following our instructions on how to make a point, pause? Are you following the coaching that our instructors are giving you? I know it's tough. Do that. And then, after I've interviewed you in class, and my team is giving you feedback on your presentation, like I say in class, every class, are you recording yourself watching video? Are you watching what you're doing? If not, go do it. So perfect practice makes permanent. Practice makes permanent. Perfect practice makes perfect. So participate in class. In every class, I ask people to speak. The ones that get hired are the ones that speak, and I coach them on their presentation skills. So present in class, please. I'll give you the opportunity anytime you want. Anytime you want. So please follow those instructions. And you'll be good to go. You'll be fantastic. So please do the labs. Please do the homework assignments. Please take the feedback. And if you want to submit an assignment again, and lots of times I know my team, if they don't love something, they say submit it again. Submit it again until the team likes it. But please, come to class. And when you're in class, participate. I'll be able to tell you right then and there what to do. That's why we do our live training on Zoom. That would be my recommendation. Lady Godiva, you notice that some job listings, the people are asking for engineer under the architect role. How can you figure out when they really want an architect? Well, I don't apply for jobs, Lady Godiva. I've never done it. I've also never had more than 10% of the skills that are actually there. So what you really need to do is, Lady Godiva, when you are a little more further in the program and the recruiters will start reaching out to you, find good recruiters. So for example, I deal with Christina Marino at IT Excel all the time. She looks at a job description and she'll say, Mike, that's not the job description. And I'll say, what is it? And she says, I'll call the hiring manager and find out what they really want. And that's the key. Find out from people that work in the job what they're actually doing there. Look, job descriptions are like jokes. They're a dumping ground of 15 different careers, and everybody wants, 100 years experience and 3 Olympic gold medals and specialties in this and this and this. The reality is they really just want somebody that can do the job. So I don't really worry about job listings. Now, I can tell you right now, if it's at a big company, Oracle, AWS, Google, Microsoft, a big bank, a consulting firm, Bearing Point, JP Morgan Chase, Capgemini, Deloitte, KPMG, they only want architects. And if they're big global retailers too, they want actual architects. Now, who really needs the architects? It's the Fortune 500 companies for the most part. Those architects just design, present, and sell. Now, if you go to a small mom and pop business, well, they may not have the team that are necessary to do things. But generally speaking, mom and pop businesses can't afford to pay anything close to what these big businesses do anyway. So generally speaking, you should go to a bigger organization. But if I were to apply for jobs, what I would actually do is I'd actually figure out what people do. I'd start reaching out to people on LinkedIn. I'd start watching what they're posting. I'd go explore. It's called reconnaissance in the military. And I would figure out what the job is. But if I was working with a recruiter, I'd ask that recruiter, contact the hiring manager and see what they care about. And why would I do that? Well, first, I want to know what they care about. 2, I've got an interview. My interview is a chance to get hired. And I've never been on an interview where I didn't get a job offer. But why? I knew what they wanted, and I trained for the interview. Put in 40 to 80 hours of training for the interview. Research the company. Research the hiring manager. Figure out what's important to the hiring manager. Figure out what the company's goals, pain points, and challenges are. What's their balance sheet saying? What's their financial state saying? What are the industry analysts saying about the organization in terms of things that need to be done? And figure out what you and your special skills are, Lady Godiva, that you can use to make that company better. And that's what you need to learn. Find out those key critical skills. If you know those key critical skills, go interview. And if you don't, can you learn them before the interview? And sometimes the answer is yes. And sometimes the answer is no. But whatever the case is, that's what you need to do. So it's all about discovery. Lady Godiva, it's like an architect project. Someone says, I want to do this. And when you get there, they don't want that at all. They want something else. So use those great communication skills of yours, Lady Godiva, and then use those wonderful, wonderful communication skills and elicit the right information, and poof, you're cloud hired. Lady Godiva, I love your question. Almighty, how do you answer the interview question regarding Terraform? You answer it like this. In my world, I've been designing solutions to solve customer business problems. I've not used Terraform because I'm not in a role where they asked me to do engineering. But if engineering was important to you, I would stay up all night, read 1,000 pages a day until I was master on Terraform. I'm hardworking, I'm energetic, enthusiastic, and I love technology, and I work hard, and I'll do whatever it takes to make you successful. If you'd like to check my competency, you can check my competency in architectural design, sales, as well as presentation skills. Direct it to your strengths. You'll be good to go. How long should you work with your first architect position? How do you know when it's time to move on? That depends on you, Anakin. So you can take my good friend Alvin. He got hired as an associate sales engineer at Cisco. He spent about 15 years at Cisco and became, senior leadership at Cisco. He left there, took a senior director position somewhere else, and now he's a VP at NVIDIA. But he spent years there, and he got promoted. I trained this kid, Carell. Really loved the kid. He was one of my students 20 years ago. I met Carell, and he was in this junior level engineering role, and he was not happy. And he said, Mike, should I get a job somewhere else? I said, no, Carell. Let's go to dinner. Let's talk. Went to dinner. He was wearing this lime green shirt, some purple pants, and he spoke like an engineer. I said, Carell, here's what my recommendation is for you. Where do you go? He says, I want a business role. I said, good. Let's get you some business acumen training. Start learning how to run financial statements. Start giving some presentations. And I give my, usual executive communication, executive presence skill and train them. 6 months later, he had a job that paid him 3 times more as a product sales specialist. Now, unfortunately, the company went through a layoff. He got a 6-figure plus severance package and needed a $300,000 sales executive job a week later. So the key is, if you do a great job, you may just get promoted in your job and never have to leave. But if you work in a company that sees you as the new guy and they can't see you as growing, do a year or 2 there and then go somewhere else. But you may not have to leave. What if you've got a great manager? What if you love your job? Then don't leave. I left my first job too early. There was an incredible hiring manager. His name was Devendra. And he hired me with absolutely zero experience. 6 months later, I was the lead architect, and my career took off like a rocket ship. I had seen some of the executives at WorldCom come in and present to us. And when I saw the executives at WorldCom come in to present to us, I felt physically sick. I felt like I needed a shower. There was something dirty about these executives, and it made me cringe. So what did I do? I went to Wall Street and doubled my salary and then some. Now, I loved my manager, and I felt horrible for leaving that manager. And why did I feel sick? Well, when those executives at WorldCom were presenting, it didn't feel truthful. It didn't feel genuine, and it gave me the creeps like they were liars. Something just didn't feel right. And you know what? When I went to Wall Street, a month and a half later, the CEO was going to prison for cooking the books. The executives were being hauled off to prison. And it was one of the largest bankruptcies that stole the pension funds from so many wonderful people throughout the world. So when I sensed there was danger, I got out. I didn't know what the danger was, but I knew not to trust the executives. But I actually felt bad for my manager and how bad did I feel for my manager? I went to his manager and his manager's manager, and I called them and met with them. And I said, I want to let you know Devendra's the best manager I've ever had in my life. I would be here, but I saw these executives and something about them terrified me. I don't feel like there's something legitimate here, but I would have never left Devendra. He took me in. He's the best manager. He brings out the best in others. Don't penalize Devendra, but my spidey senses are making me uncomfortable after those executives. And you know what? Instantly, after almost a month or 2 later, those people were in prison. And my manager's manager said, I'm starting to feel pretty sick about something too. I didn't know if it was just me. They saw it too, and they didn't blame Devendra. Devendra is wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. So understand this, when somebody takes a chance on you and hires you with no experience, at least give them a year. At least. Why? I hire somebody with no experience. I tell my managers I'm doing it. My manager looks at me like I've got 4 heads, but I say, trust me, if that person quits in 3 months, they're going to be, look, Mike, you hired someone and now it's your mess. So give them at least a year. But what if you love it? Don't leave. Job's not about job hopping. The job is a means to take care of your family. You should enjoy your job. If you work with good people, stick it out. Don't leave. If you don't like the job, that's when you leave. Or if they're seeing you and you got typecast as the new guy or the new girl, and in your case, the new guy, but, and they don't see you as capable, then leave.
All right, so we've got one question left. I'm about to put it up for you.
Sounds good. That's about all I have time to handle. Actually worked your way up from help desk into a sysadmin role. You want to move into architect security. You've got a certification. Okay. What would you recommend afterwards? I recommend you train to be an architect. not get certifications. So you've got two options. You could train with us, and we'd love to train you, or go get an MBA, get some executive placement training outside of the MBA, get some professional sales training outside of the MBA, and get some professional emotional intelligence and gravitas or executive presence training. Additionally, you're talking certifications, and I'm talking about knowledge. Certifications are the name of the service and how to configure it. So make sure you get some data center knowledge of servers and server virtualization, containers and container orchestration, block storage, file storage, object storage. Knowledge of network load balancers, application load balancers, how to architect them, not how to configure them, reverse proxies. Get knowledge about next generation firewalls, IDS systems, IPS systems, VPN columns, and triggers. Get knowledge about what applications are going to transform a business's performance. None of this stuff is going to be covered in certification. Get some training in digital transformation, not covered in certification. And now learn the networking things, which are not going to be covered, half of them, in the CCNA. Yes, the CCNA will cover VLANs, VLAN tagging, VLAN trunking, port channel, Ether channel link aggregation group. But the CCNA won't cover BGP, so you're going to need BGP, and not how to configure it, how to architect it, and how to traffic engineer it. You're going to have to know IP address design planning, and guess what? Not going to be taught in a CCNA. Will be taught at the CCIE, CCDE level. We teach that because you need to know that. Now, what about which WAN technologies to use and why? Not covered in the CCNA, so if you're not with us, go to the Cisco Networking Academy and take networking training. That'll cost about $10,000, but you'll get good networking training. So if you want to get a job like this, train for the job. Stop focusing on certifications. I recommend that you get training to be an architect. Like I said, you can do it with an MBA and some of those other things that I told you, and you'll get there. Or you could take our course, which is 500 hours. And realistically speaking, if you had 10 certifications, it would still be 500 hours of training, because certifications are about the name of the service and how to configure that service. And that's not what we do as architects. We design the solution, present the solution, and sell the solution. So your design skills, which is architecture, must be impeccable. How do you put the pieces and parts together, which is not covered in certification, to be able to make the technology solution solve a customer's business performance? That is the job that we're talking about. Those are the things that you need to understand. Apologies, it looks like we're having some internet challenges going on some of our platforms. We're in Florida right now. We just had a hurricane, and internet activity is not perfect. So focus on learning the job. Don't focus on certifications. This is not a job where people care about certifications. This is a job where they care about your digital transformation, your leadership skills, your sales skills, your executive presence, your emotional intelligence, and the knowledge of business, because you can't transform a business if you don't understand that business. So those are the things you need to learn. Great, great question. And I wouldn't waste my time on an AZ 104 course. I would learn architecture. Okay, it's been an honor and a privilege to speak with you. It was also super exciting that my good friend Delra, who used to be my student, came and visited me today. To remind you of a few things, we have a free How to Get Your First Cloud Architect Job webinar on Thursday next week. Come join. People come from all across the world. It'll be on Zoom. You can ask questions. I'll tell you how to be an architect, and we can interact live and free. Register for the free AWS Certified Solution Architect Associate Bootcamp coming. Register for the free AWS Advanced Networking training coming, where we'll combine the intro-level AWS Advanced Networking certification with some BGP, some IP addressing and design planning, some supernetting stuff, some switching concepts, and make it the AWS Advanced Networking that you need to know. Follow us on LinkedIn. We've got magazine articles coming out. We're constantly published in various magazines. So learn from us. Sign up, follow us on LinkedIn. You'll see executives coming in from NVIDIA. This month, I've got some great cloud architects from AWS coming in. I even have some business school professors coming in to talk about business acumen. So follow me on LinkedIn to do it. And if you want to get hired, our Cloud Architect Career Development Program can and will get you hired if you do the work. And if you want to be a cloud engineer, our Cloud Engineer Career Development Program can get you hired. And of course, we've got a tech interview mastery program to help you learn how to interview as well, although those things are covered in both courses. So get yourselves cloud hired. Take advantage of our 30% discount. If you haven't yet liked or subscribed to our channel, please do so and hit the bell so you get notified of all the great things coming your way. And I'll see you soon. Cloud hired, everybody.